As some of you know, my name is Valerie, and I'm a librarian here at the public library. I heard that your book club is trying to decide on the next 2 books for you to read this month. And since it's February and Valentine's Day is just around the corner, I thought I'd present some romance titles. However, for a little twist, all these books are about characters who are experiencing love during a difficult time. The first book I'm sharing is called Come Sundown by Nora Roberts. It was published in 2017. If you've ever read Nora Roberts, you know that she loves developing characters and building romances that have history and depth. That is definitely the case in Come Sundown. Bodine Longbow runs a resort on her family's ranch in rural Montana. She is a natural at her job. She values hard work, loyalty, and kindness in her employees. And since most of the people who work for her are the family and friends that she's known her entire life, Bodine Ranch is continuing to thrive and grow more than it ever has in the past. So with her family and friends surrounding her, she feels ready to take on any challenge, or so she thinks. A crush from her adolescence, Callum Skinner, is invited by her brothers to work at the ranch for the summer. But his role in the ranch turns into a job on the resort, and now Bodine has to see him every day. At first, Bodine thinks that she's past any middle school crushes. Cal, on the other hand, is just starting to recognize how interesting Bodine Longbow really is. When the attraction between Bodine and Cal really starts to heat up, a terrible murder is discovered on the property. The family bands together during this tragedy, but then an even bigger discovery comes to light, and it rocks Bodine to her core. Suspicions rise as the investigation into the murder continues, and Cal is the main suspect. The truth about the past and present are soon revealed after that. In this book, we see examples of love relationships that are born from lightness, friendship, and trust. However, we also see a dark side of love, a love that is twisted by fear and resentment. Through the many struggles, love still finds its place in this novel. And it's Come Sundown by Nora Roberts. The next book I've chosen to present today is actually nonfiction. It's a memoir. It's called Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle Melton, and it was published in 2016. Love Warrior is a love story that encompasses so many types of love. However, I think the most prominent is love for oneself. Almost 14 years ago, Glennon Doyle Melton is still just Glennon Doyle. She sits on the bathroom floor trying to recover from her usual hangover, but this time is different because she's just found out she's pregnant. When Glennon decides to take her pregnancy as a sign for ending her old life and beginning anew, she thinks that she has to lay all of her defeats, trials, failures of her past to rest. Unfortunately, tamping down her shame about herself and her vices does not keep sadness and resentment from entering her home. Glennon faces the truth about her love and her relationship with her husband, Craig, who also has many skeletons in the closet. And after finding out that Craig has been lying and cheating, Glennon's world starts to collapse. But maybe this time she can understand herself and be better. She doesn't want to fall back into the old habits. And as she considers divorce, Glennon is forced to confront problems from her past. I want to read an excerpt. And just to give you a little context, at this point in the story, Glennon has found out about Craig's infidelity, and in this passage, she's doing some soul searching and asking questions about love. I consider the question people ask me again and again when they hear the news. Glennon, are you in love with him? This question baffles and frustrates me. What do they mean? Do they even know what they mean? What the hell does in love mean? I'd always assumed that in love was some perfect storm of feelings that some couples were just lucky enough to have. But now I wonder, is love not a feeling, but a place between two present people? A sacred place created when two people decide it's safe enough to let their real selves surface and touch each other. Is that why it's called In Love? Because you have to visit there? And so that is Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle Melton. All right, on to the next title. This book is a little dark. Some might even argue that the love depicted in the story isn't real love, but that's something you have to decide for yourself. The book is called All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood, and it was published in 2016. The rural Midwest is not a typical setting for love to grow, but then again, this is definitely not a typical love story. Wavy and her little brother Donnell live in a very dark, bleak environment full of violence and drugs. Her mom is a drug addict who beats and abuses her, and her father is a drug dealer who runs a meth lab. With danger always lurking, Wavy feels hopeless in a world that is devoid of the wonderful. After witnessing a motorcycle accident, Wavy begins a relationship that brings a little light into the darkness. She's so desperate for the attention and love of someone, anyone, that she does not realize the wrongness of the relationship. Kellen is Wavy's savior. He's a thug for hire that her dad has taken on for security at the meth lab. Kellen is twice Wavy's age, but Wavy doesn't care. All she cares about is taking care of Donnell and being with Kellen. When a well-meaning relative steps in to save Wavy and Donnell from their unhealthy environment, Wavy tries hard to hide her relationship with Kellen because she knows no one else is going to understand. Her relationship with Kellen was the one beautiful thing in her ugly world, and she is just determined to never let it go. If you're open to being uncomfortable but drawn in at the same time, this book will definitely show you a darker side of love. And this is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. Now I'm going to show you a book that is definitely lighter. It is easy to forget that there can be humor in the struggle to find the one. The next book is another nonfiction, and it is called Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari, and it was published in 2015. Aziz Ansari is a comedian whose comedy sketches often iterate his unsuccessful encounters with love interests. However, these unsuccessful stories are also the inspiration behind his quest to understand modern-day romance. He partners up with a sociologist named Eric Klinenberg to conduct a multi-country research study into modern romantic practices for heterosexual relationships. During the research, Aziz provides a better understanding of what people are looking for in a partner and how that has changed in the digital age. Through the interviews, surveys, personal anecdotes, Aziz builds a story of real-life relationships that have thrived because of digitalization, but he also points out the times that the internet and texting can stop a relationship before it even gets a chance to start. So now I'm going to read an excerpt from the introduction of the book. Aziz is discussing the actual event that prompted him to start this project. He texts a woman who he thought he had a connection with the previous night, but as he impatiently awaits her response, he realizes just how much his phone is giving him anxiety. So, here it is. The madness I was descending into wouldn't have even existed 20 or even 10 years ago. There I was maniacally checking my phone every few minutes, going through this tornado of panic and hurt and anger, all because this person hadn't written me a short, stupid message on a dumb little phone. I didn't end up going to a concert that night. Instead, I went to a comedy club and started talking about the awful frustration, self-doubt, and rage that this whole silence nonsense had provoked in the depths of my being. I got laughs, but also something bigger, like the audience and I were connecting on a deeper level. I could tell that every guy and girl in the audience had had their own Tanya in their phone at one point or another, each with their own individual problems and dilemmas. We each sit alone, staring at this black screen with a whole range of emotions. But in a strange way, we are all doing it together, and we should take solace in the fact that no one has a clue what's going on. Modern Romance is a New York Times bestseller. It is humorous, but it's a poignant study into what it means to love in the age of the internet. So here it is. Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. All right, well, that includes my presentation of romance titles that depict love during difficult times. The titles were Come Sundown by Nora Roberts, Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle Melton, All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood, and Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. I hope that I was able to help with your book selection for this month, and thank you.